everybody. It's always weird on live video, and only you guys on the replay even see this. It's always weird to do live video and say, hey everybody, when nobody's here yet. But it feels like when you start a new video, the first thing you should do is say hi, but there's nobody watching. So I always have this awkward, I'm just going to smile for a minute, because for the people on replay, it's weird if I don't say hi right away. But then for the people who are not there, then I'm saying hi to nobody. So that's always my conundrum when I start a live video, and I never know what to do about it. So look, you guys are here, and now I'm not by myself. So now I can say, hey everybody, tell me where you guys are from. I'm super excited you guys are here, because it's way more fun to talk to people than to do this by myself. Just so you know, it kind of gets boring talking to myself after a while, and it's kind of hard to keep it exciting. So you guys are going to see me look down because I have notes, because that keeps me from, that'll keep me on track, and that'll make me not wander. So I'm very excited that you guys are here. I thought I would start out by telling you guys what I've used already today. And the whole point of doing this is so you know that you don't have to overthink using the oils. Have them and use them. So I talked about these yesterday, but I think they're worth talking about again, and I used them again today. So Progessence Plus is an oil that helps, it's an oil blend, we call it a serum, has some natural progesterone in it, and it is great for all things female hormones. I use this with my tween. We started using it when she was 12. Thank you, Jesus. Our whole house is thankful for this one. I have used natural progesterone in a lot of different products since, probably 15 years ago. My mother-in-law told me about it a very, very long time ago. So I have had a long-standing love affair with progesterone, natural progesterone. I think it's really good for all of us. But this is not a hormone class. I just want you to know it's there. If you're a stressed out mama, or you have a tween or teen, any female age will likely benefit from this. So ask me more about it if you want to, because it matters so much. This is kind of a gateway oil. I miss East Tennessee. I do hear that you don't have very many fall leaves right now, but I'm excited that you guys are here from all over the place. West Virginia, tell me if you have pretty leaves. This is the other one that I've already used today, Endoflex. This is a blend. Of course, this is the Vitality blend. Remember, we've told you if it has a solid label, it's not made for ingesting. If it has a white label, it is made for ingesting. But the trick to know is that the oil is the same. So do whatever you want with that. Endoflex is made for all things endocrine support. So endocrine is hormones, but that also means stress hormones. So it's not just our female and our male hormones. That's our cortisol, which is our stress hormone. If our cortisol is off, we may not be sleeping well. We may be cranky. Even a 3-year-old having a temper tantrum can have some cortisol issues, hormone issues. So Endoflex is one that a lot of families love for all the ages. We use this for thyroid. I had low thyroid numbers, and I started using this 6 months later. My doctor tested again, and my numbers were great. So now I don't need it anymore. I also have used today a lot of this. This one is called ImmuPower. There's another blend very similar that's in our starter kit. However, my daughter and I both came home from traveling, 2-hour time zone difference, didn't get a lot of sleep, lots of airplanes and airport breathing. And neither of us felt great. So we use ImmuPower like crazy. I think the reason I might love this one a whole lot is that this one has oregano in it, and oregano was the second essential oil that I fell in love with 10 years ago. So I think that's why I'm really drawn to this one. Oregano is very, very powerful. We're going to talk some about antioxidants today. I won't get too sciencey because I'm going to try and be quick, but oregano and this oil in particular, the spice oils have very high antioxidants, and those are great for all of our body support, all of our system support. And then the other thing that I've used a bunch of today, this is Ningxia Red. You're going to hear me talk about this some, but this is Young Living Super Juice. Don't compare it to apple juice because it's not. It's more like a pure, there's a bunch of puree in it. Let's see how big the ingredients are written. Ningxia Wolfberry, so that has all sorts of phenomenal, you can go Google that. Google the effects of wolfberry. Blueberry, plum, sweet cherry, aronia. I don't know what that word is. I've never heard it before. I mean, except the other time I've read the ingredients. Pomegranate, which I love. I think it tastes like pomegranate juice. It has some essential oils in it. This one is really high in D-limonene. It's really high in antioxidants. That's the bottom line. All of the superfoods in here are very high in antioxidants. Those help support your body. That's all I'm getting at is that. That's why we've been doing it, my daughter and I both, because neither of us has felt fabulous since we came home. But I feel way better today than I did yesterday. So that's great. I've been using frankincense because why not? I also use frankincense on my face. We have a lot of age spots here, and my face has kind of always been my nemesis. Not my face, my skin on my face has always been not been clear at all for me. But you guys, this is dream come true, clear skin. There's no foundation on the skin. Can I just say that? The longer I use oils, the healthier my body gets, the cleaner all the cells in my body get, and my skin just keeps getting clearer and clearer and clearer. Now, we're here to talk about children learning. I'm going to tell you this last one because it's what's in my diffuser, Peace and Calming, which does what it says. Peace and calm. I love this one. It took me a little while. I didn't love this one at first. Anyway, it's in the starter kit, and we're going to talk more about that. But that's what is in my diffuser right up here. Okay, so we're here to talk about attention and learning, and all of that little intro was just to tell you that I'm serious, I like this stuff, and that's a little bit about me in my everyday. So a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not diagnosing, I'm not treating. It's very important to me that you guys know that we're not here to offer false hope. I'm not saying I have a solution, because a solution sometimes can be multifaceted for most of us, and as a mom, which it feels weird for me to say this, but I guess the reality is I do have a kid with some special needs. I was a special ed teacher in 5th grade. I knew that I wanted to be a special ed teacher. I did all of the volunteer buddying I could do in my school system that they would allow me all the way through. I did all of my extra high school hours were either in choir or in the special needs classroom, tutoring. I have loved always people with special needs. So I know what we're talking about, especially this week, is ADHD and attention in particular, but those often come with special needs, and the application is the same regardless of how far on the spectrum we call it. And I don't mean autism spectrum, I just mean dyslexia is not nearly as difficult of a life as probably cerebral palsy or someone with a food tube or epilepsy with grand mal seizures. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by the spectrum, but what we're going to say applies to all special needs, all of them. And actually it applies to all of us without special needs. So I taught 4 years in the school system. I taught 2 years. My class was 20 to 22 kids with behavior disorders and autism. That was my favorite. I love a good challenge, and I loved every second of that, except the assistant I worked with. But I loved the kids. What is a bummer is I wish now, I would be such a better teacher now after parenting him with all I know. Now I would have my diffuser running in my classroom non-stop. It kills me. All my kids were medicated. Students. Then I taught 2 years of just students with learning disabilities. So that was where I had all of my kids with dyslexia and ADHD. Most of my kids in that other classroom were much more involved, and their functioning level was quite a bit lower. So then the day that I had my son, I stayed home from work, and now I'm homeschooling my own kids. So our son is 17. He is a senior. I cannot believe it, you guys. I can't believe we're almost finished. And then our daughter is 13, and she has ADHD and dyslexia. And I think for a long time, I wasn't real worried about the label. Actually, as a special ed teacher, I think labels are really helpful. But because they can bring a set of helps. I wouldn't call it a formula, but I think it's helpful to have a diagnosis. Because then at least you know what you're dealing with, right? It doesn't mean they fit in a box. However, it didn't matter for me because I was the homeschool teacher, so it didn't really matter to me what we called it. Actually, it matters to me now that I do get a formal diagnosis because I need to, she's going to start taking the ACT, and I'm going to have some modifications for it. However, as a special ed teacher, we've done some testing with her. We just did it so far ago that now it's not applicable, but she's coming out of the bathroom. Sorry, you guys can see down my hallway. But anyway, we have all the classic sets of everything. and classic dyslexic, still flipping letters, all that kind of stuff. And words jumping off the page, dancing around when she's reading, backwards, all that stuff. She can write phenomenal things from right to left. The other thing is I have known probably, I don't know that I have felt all along that she was your classic kid with ADHD, but I wasn't willing to do any medication. So on that one, the diagnosis really didn't matter at all, except that it helped me to, it helped me to realize why I was so tired sometimes. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but the solutions are multifaceted. So that's what I want to tell you guys. I'm going to talk about all the different solutions that are out there, and chances are very slim that one of them is going to be your solution. It's going to be a combination. And the reason is there are some aggravating factors that we have to make sure that we remove. And that right there is going to, it's very unlikely. Now, maybe it's actually possible you guys have already done all of these things, and then there's still something left, and all you need to do is add an oil and you're good to go. But after 8 years in school, and I keep looking over here at my notes, after 8 years in school and 13 years of parenting, our solution this year did include a very, very small dose of medicine. We picked the non-stimulant med because I'm not willing to do the stimulants. I just don't feel like they're good for her brain. I feel like they're lifelong negative. Hey, Katie. I feel like the lifelong negative effects are actually worse, but we're in a spot emotionally for our whole family this season that we needed some help. We needed some help of the great difficulty in our increase in school load this year. It's kind of rocked her world. And so at first, honestly, I kind of felt like a fraud. Like maybe I'm giving up on all this natural stuff if I give up and put her on medicine. And I think we just had to think through it a lot. But what we realized is that can be one of our approaches. She's on 1/3 the smallest effective dose. So clearly her dose is quite effective. So they need to lower the smallest effective dose. But all of that to say, I feel like it's dishonest if I don't say that. So, but that is part of it. Did we stop using essential oils? No. Did we stop all of the other healthy things we're doing? No. And do I want her on this medicine forever? Nope. I want her on it as little as possible just to get us through. We went back to the doctor. He said, do you want to increase? I said, why would I increase? It's helping me at the smallest dose possible. Or it's helping her, which is helping me. So I just feel like that's important to say because in a lot of ways, I'm right where you guys are. And I want you to understand that part of it. So I just think that's important because I really don't want it. I don't want it to be a simple pat answer, and I don't want you guys to think that I don't understand where you are. I mean, obviously we're all in different places, but you know what I mean. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is remove things that are aggravating our kids, and we don't always know what they are. So what I would do is remove all of them and then see what you find out. For us, that has been wheat. I mean, that has been food. White sugar, processed white sugar has been terrible for I see it in attention with both my kids, but especially with Maddie. White purified sugar, not only is it sugar in a form that's going to give us a blood sugar spike, which is not good for our brain, it also has chemicals added to it. I mean, how do you think it gets that white, you guys? It's covered in chemicals that clean it. All the processing equipment they use is chemicals. That's going on your food. So that somebody has decided is safe for us to eat. So remove white sugar. There is sugar that you can get. I mean, in a lot of ways, you really want to completely remove sugar, but that's really very, very difficult. I mean, we still have birthday parties. We still have Christmas season, but we have found in our family that using Demerara sugar, it's unprocessed, it's non-GMO. That has been acceptable for Maddie, and it doesn't have any chemicals added to it. It's cane sugar. It looks, anyway, I won't go on that much about it, but I'm happy to send you a link to what we get it at Walmart. But that's a sugar that our body seems to tolerate just fine. Do we live on it? No. But if I want to make muffins, I use it. And cupcakes and birthday cakes and all that kind of stuff. So cut out everything that you possibly can. Food coloring, most of you guys have already done this. Food coloring is huge and it's in a whole bunch. And honestly, if you're cutting out junk sugar and you're cutting out food coloring, you're going to be cutting out a lot of the same stuff. But colors are hidden in places. So we're going to talk a little bit more about things like cold medicines. You know, if your child has a runny nose and you're giving them Triaminic or Dimetapp, you're giving them food colors and sugar and then wanting them to sit and do schoolwork. So think about everything that's going into their body. And we're going to talk about some replacement tools for those things. Foods, for us, wheat really affects Maddie's brain in particular, but for others, other foods affect different kids differently. For Maddie, when she has wheat, she flips her letters significantly more. I actually took a picture a while back and I tried to find it on my phone and I can't find it. It was a picture. I've taken some pictures of pre-wheat and post-wheat food. She doesn't do great with weight in her belly either, but it definitely affects her brain. We say it kind of makes her like a gnat. And she focuses significantly less and her handwriting is way worse. But the biggest thing is we've always said she kind of acts like she doesn't have a brain in her head. And I used to think that sometimes maybe I was just real sensitive to it, and I think other people used to think that. But one day I gave her pizza and I dropped her off at children's ministry at church, and the director said, "What in the world did you feed her?" And I said, "She had pizza." And she said, "Don't do that again." So it wasn't just me. So pay attention to the foods that your kid is eating. Is it wheat? Is it sugar constantly? If you're starting with the standard American diet breakfast of cereal, not a good way to start your day. So we want to set them up for success. We want to remove fragrances. In one of our other, actually two of our other videos, we've talked about fragrances. And those fragrances are chemicals, they're petrochemicals, and they're not good for us. They're offensive to our brains. They're kind of itty bitty bits of poison all the time. And we can't control what happens in a public bathroom. We can't control what happens in our church bathroom, you know, things like that. Unfortunately, you can't always control what happens in your school classroom, but sometimes. I know some teachers who are willing to use oils in their classrooms. So remove the fragrances everywhere you possibly can. What that means is, look at your fabric softener. Look at your laundry detergent. Those two things, if you think about, the other thing is those also, fabric softener has petrochemicals on it. Our skin is our body's biggest organ. So if you're using fabric softener and scented detergent, or even one of those, 24 hours a day, your body is touching fabric, unless you live in a nudist colony. And if you do, don't tell me. I don't want to be Facebook friends with you. 24 hours a day, your body is being offended with those things that are not good for you. And they build up and they start altering our hormones. And they're challenging our brains. So watch your foods. Remove colors. Remove sugar. You know, watch the sugar sources. Remove the fragrances. Febreze. Air fresheners. You know, your little pine tree hanging in your car. Your bathroom spray freshener, your scented Lysol, your scented dish detergent, your hand washing detergent. And yes, we have a switch option for that too, ditch and switch option for that. Okay, so along with fragrances is chemicals, and basically it's everything that I already talked about, except fake oils. If you're using essential oils off your shelf at Walmart, probably even off your health food store shelf, which is where I started. TJ Maxx sells a whole bunch of oils and they're going to tell you how good they are for you. They're not. You get what you pay for. If you're getting frankincense for $2, you're not getting frankincense, guys. If you're getting frankincense for $10, you're not getting frankincense. So, watch your chemicals. Clean up the detergents and the cleaners. We already talked about that. Ask your kid's teacher if they're willing for you to provide a diffuser. If you're a homeschool mom, perfect. You can control that environment. If your child's going to a public school, ask your teacher if you're allowed to provide a diffuser and then thieves cleaner, which is what we're going to talk about in just a minute. And then we already talked about cold medicine. So if you're giving your kid any liquid medicine, it is most likely sweetened with sugar. Sorbitol, it might say glucose syrup. It might say, it's probably not going to say fructose because people are onto that word. But sorbitol and glucose, those are just a sugar load. Even a teaspoon in the morning is a lot to start with. And that's how they flavor kids' medicines. So one of the things that I want to tell you here is that if you're wondering, okay, so what do I wash my kids' clothes with? What do I clean my bathroom with? You know, what do I clean our school desk and our school table with? What do I wash my dishes with? So look, Young Living has a plant-based cleaner, and I should have brought, oh, well, look at this. I do have the detergent. I should have brought my cleaner in here, but so they have an entire line. It's called their Thieves line, and it's all plant-based cleaner, and it is, I say it's not actually scented with the oils. it has a scent because it has all of these oils in it, but the oils are effectively cleaning. So it's not actually scented. It's just that it has a scent because of that. So, so your detergent, I use, I take this and there are different recipes you'll see where you can dilute it and things like this. And this is all plant-based. It's good for you. Honestly, if your child were to get some of this in their mouth, it's okay. You don't have to call poison control. I'm not saying let them, but you know. Plant-based cleaner, the Thieves Cleaner, is the same, just like that. So I think that's good. Okay, Brandon, I'm glad you're here, and we're going to talk about this. And I'm going to tell you, what do we eat now? We can talk through that for sure, because there is actually food that we can eat left. Because I've actually been doing it in my house for a really long time, and there are others to walk with you. So, okay, so that's where there are some good detergents and things like that. So that's one of the things we use, something we call it ditch and switch. So instead of spending your money on things at the grocery store, you can spend them towards Young Living, and then you're getting those cleaners, and you're getting free points and money and all that stuff back. So Brandon, one of the questions, I think the best way to answer your question is that it's a journey. Switching to a lifestyle like this is a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. And I would not, if you and I were sitting having coffee, I wouldn't say, tomorrow, let's go empty out your whole house and change everything. What I would do is take one thing at a time. When my kids got food allergies and I realized they couldn't have colors, we took all colors out. When I found out later they had a lot more foods, we took those foods out. And then I used unscented stuff, but I was still using chemical detergent until I switched to Young Living. So this has happened over 10 years. But if you have a child that you know is having trouble, do everything that you possibly can to begin with. So we'll talk more about that. The other thing is that and this is actually in my notes to tell you later, but it's a good thing to tell you now, we are all in this together. And one of the things that Marianne and I have talked about specifically is we want you to know that we want to walk this journey with you. This is not about talking about a product and saying, see you, I'm so glad you bought an oil, I'll see you later. That is not it. It's here because we're joining with you. We want to join forces with you and help you figure this out. So we will walk this together with you, and that really, really, really matters to us. Okay, so we've talked about the things that we can remove, and that list is not all inclusive, but it's a pretty good place to start. That's what we can remove. Also, you can add physical activity. Before you do your heavy learning, the subjects that are most difficult for your kiddo, add some physical activity. If your child's an occupational therapist, you will already have talked about this. But at our house, swinging, running, jumping, and the reason is if you think about swinging, if they're spinning in a swing, that is not, and so they like to spin. That's exciting to them. If you swing straight forward and back, then that's actually calming their vestibular system. So we used to go swing right before we would do reading. Now at 13, she's not real interested in that, but I've actually thought about putting a swing right in my living room. We have had a swing inside our house for a lot of years of our life. My sister still has one now. There's no reason. If you have a spot, if you have a doorway, stick a swing in your house. It's good for the kids to do. Do your math facts while you're swinging. You guys have people talk about a rebounder all the time, but I think a swing is way more fun. And a swing is super cheap. Go buy some rope, get a piece of 1x10 pine, stick a rope through it and hang it with big door hooks in your door frame. So a swing is easy to come by. Heavy work, that's a good one, Marianne. And what you guys will find is each kid is really different. So Brandon, you've got two 12-year-olds. They're going to be in a different spot than Marianne's, boys. So each kid is going to be different. One might need the swinging, one might need the running, one might need to carry wood around the house right before. So physical activity really is important, and you'll figure out which one is best for your kid. Okay, the next one is treat other body factors so that you can lessen the load on their body. Some of that is like I talked about, removing offenses. So some of the other things that can be a load on their body is their allergies. If they have allergies, and it could be food allergies, but it also could be seasonal allergies. If you know that every September they have a really hard month, try and get ahead of those things. And essential oils can help with those things. So everything I'm talking to you about, I wouldn't say that essential oils are the solution, but they can help with it. So the whole lifestyle all together it can benefit all of these different areas, which is why I said it's a multifaceted approach. So the other thing is if they have allergies and they're taking Claritin every single day and it's liquid Claritin, then that's going to be, there's sugar in that. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, is just really thinking about everything that's in their body. A lot of families have really great success with ingesting oils, and I do mean ingesting Young Living oils only because those are approved for ingestion. You can take a capsule, 2 drops, lavender, lemon, and peppermint each. They're all oils made for ingestion. Take that every single day. So many people have great success and they've gone off their allergy medicines that way. So I'm not telling you that's a treatment for it. I'm just telling you that's a story that a lot of people have to share. So there are other options. If they're having breathing challenges, that's going to make it hard to focus. If it's hard to focus, it's hard to think, it's hard to sit still. So again, if we think about our breathing challenges, we're going to first go to give them a decongestant, right? Well, that makes them thirsty. And then maybe they start to get mildly dehydrated because they're not drinking enough. And then they're uncomfortable. I actually feel like antihistamines and it's actually the decongestant stuff with Sudafed in it can really ramp you up. It can make your heart race and things like that. So if you can work on those things with essential oils, then you're using something good for their body instead of using something that's an offense for their body. And we'll talk specifically about options for those a little bit later. Hormone imbalances, those can be frustrating factors. So I talked about Endoflex and Progessence Plus. Brandon, you've got 2 tweens. Maybe this is what you need in your house. Endoflex is really great for all ages. If they live in America, chances are very good they've got some hormones out of whack because we are surrounded by endocrine disruptors. Google xenoestrogens, and it starts with an X. Xeno estrogens, and just Google the effects of xenoestrogens and where they are in our world, in the standard developed country. I say American, but I've been in Belize and I've been in the United Kingdom, and their ingredient lists look pretty much just as bad as ours, except they don't use colors in the UK. But a lot of them are starting to, we're influencing them in bad ways. Yeah, Candace, that's a really good point you made. So the ditch and switch concept, we'll talk about a little more about the ditch and switch at the end. Inflammation and gut health. Oh, the other thing is hormone imbalances. They may just need a little bit of support when they're going through a hard season. I mean, our daughter's 13, that transition is hard. So it doesn't necessarily mean that something is broken. It just means that we can support our bodies in a better way. I might not have a weight problem, but exercise is still good for me. So it's that sort of thing. It's okay to just support what's already, might seem okay on the outside. It's still good to add extra support to it. Okay, this one's a little bit more complicated. Well, I'll hit the basic one first. Sleep. If they're not sleeping well, they're not going to perform very well during school. And you can use their diffuser on their feet, or you can use the diffuser, or you can use oils. A lot of people put oils on their feet as their kids are going to bed. The diffuser gets it in their nose, so then it's more constant all night long. The Young Living diffusers go for 8 to 10 hours, depending on how you have them set. And our starter kit, which I'll talk about in a minute, has a whole bunch of oils to help you sleep. Lavender, cedarwood, peace and calming, stress away. Also CBD oil, which Young Living has now partnered with a company for pure, clean CBD oil. Nature's Ultra is the company, but don't just go order it straight from that company, because if you order it through Young Living, you get a discount. And then you get all of our support on this journey where we want to walk with you. This one is a little bit more complicated. It's inflammation and gut health. And our culture is starting to talk a little bit more about this. But if our gut, which means basically our stomach and our intestines, if those things are all out of whack, if we take antibiotics, a whole bunch of kids have ear infections right at the beginning, right? They take antibiotics, that can make their gut health. You've probably heard about bacteria, yeast, probiotics. Those are kind of buzzwords these days. But if that gets out of whack, that actually can start to affect our brain, because our gut actually makes some of our hormones. And I don't recall ever learning that until recently. So If we can keep gut health healthy, which means watching our sugar level, using good probiotics. There's Mighty Pro, which Young Living has, which is everybody says it tastes like Pixie Sticks. I had to start buying the pills because my daughter was taking too many because it tasted good. So now I just buy the capsule that they have instead. But that Mighty Pro is delicious. So we'll talk a lot about inflammation. That's a longer, it's kind of a longer journey because it's more involved, but it does involve things like taking out the junk food that we're eating and replacing it with, like Candace said earlier, real foods that don't have an ingredient list. That's what we should be eating. And it is possible. It's a mindset switch, but it's possible. Also, Ningxia Red is really high in antioxidants, which helps our body reduce its own inflammation. And a lot of our oils are also very high on antioxidant oils, and those help our body fight for itself. The whole purpose of using essential oils and healthy products is to help our body do what God created it to do to begin with, which is work right. So that's why we want to talk about things from the bottom up. And one thing I want to say for just a minute, you're going to hear me mention in this next section a bunch of essential oils, okay? Because that's the whole talk. That's what this talk is called. So what I'm going to talk about is essential oils that help different particular issues that we're struggling with. And Young Living has something called a starter kit. If you decide that you want to join our oily family, or if you decide that you want to buy essential oils, we want you to buy them in the smartest way, and that is to join our oily family so that we can help you know what to do with them. Nobody wants a starter kit to sit on your shelf. That doesn't do you any good. I don't actually want to sell you a starter kit and never talk to you again. It doesn't help you, and, well, I guess it might help me temporarily, but that's not the goal. The goal is it doesn't help you, and I love to help people. So the starter kit is 12 oils. You get some samples of the Ningxia Red. You get a hand sanitizer, I think is what's coming right now, a Thieves hand sanitizer. And let's see. Sorry, my comment messed me up there. So anyway, that starter kit is the best way to join Young Living, and then that gets you a wholesale membership. Now, I'm going to talk more about the starter kit tomorrow and tell you all about what's in it and how you can use it for this ditch and switch concept that we're talking about. Ditch would be ditching the junk. Switch would be turning it towards good stuff for you. That's not harmful. So remember, we talked about there are two things. You want to remove the junk and you want to add the good stuff at the same time. And if you can find one thing that does both of those, that's what we want you to do. So that's how we want to help you. So I'm going to mention some oils that are in the starter kit and some aren't. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to talk about the starter kit and how each oil in the starter kit can be applied to your daily life for that tool kit that we talked about. Okay, so our brain helps. Let me move my notes to the top a little bit here. When we are schooling, when our kids are working on school, there are different ways that we want to help their brain. We want to help them with calming, alerting maybe, which might sound weird, but sometimes when kids aren't focusing, it's because they're tired and they're really scattered, but sometimes alerting that actually can help them focus a tiny bit. It's not always a matter of calm, and sometimes we're not sure. We have to check with our kids. So calming, alerting, or mental clarity. Mood boosting, we can get really frustrated and anxious and cranky. And if something is not going our way, that's going to cause anxiety when kids start to notice that they're different and maybe their younger sibling is passing them up in reading. Or memorizing their math facts more quickly. That can cause anxiety. The other thing is sometimes this all goes together in their brain. Yes, 10 o'clock Central Time is what I'm going to do for the teaching tomorrow. Anxiety. Oh yeah, okay, so those are the things. Sorry, I forgot my bullet point. Okay, so calming. What oils are good for calming? Now, this can be brain calming and body calming. These same oils could be used for sleep. Vetiver is one of my favorites. I've actually loved vetiver for a really long time. Vetiver is super, super, super thick, but you guys should Google. It smells very smoky, so it's a real manly scent. I use it all the time anyway. Vetiver, Google vetiver and ADHD, okay? There are several articles. I'll try and link a couple of them here, but honestly, they're super sciencey articles, and in 3 sentences at the very end, they tell you vetiver is helpful for ADHD. So just go Google vetiver and ADHD, or just believe me that I'm telling you the truth. Vetiver is really good for calming. Vetiver is also good for restless legs and kind of the twitchy shakiness that you get at night at bedtime. Cedar wood is really great. Also, that's good for calming. Cedar wood is also good for a lot of other things. I'm going to stick to what we're talking about right now. All of these oils are good for a lot more than we could ever imagine. If you're not sure how the oils work and why they're good for you, go back and watch what I taught yesterday. Oh, by the way, I made a unit in this class so you can see everything in order. So look for the units section and you're going to see the table of contents, and then you can go through and not miss stuff. Cedarwood is good for calming. Lavender is really good. A lot of people do really well with lavender. One of my friends that I'm hoping to have her type up this is, she's got some teenage boys with ADHD, and I don't know if you've noticed this with yours, but sometimes kids just wake up cranky. Like nothing has happened. They're just cranky. And this family in particular, and I've heard others say this too, is that they switch to using their diffuser with good oils in it, and their people wake up happy. So because they wake up, that smell is affecting their limbic system before they're even standing up, you guys. So if you have oils, good oils, use them. Okay, there's another. Lavender is a starter kit oil, by the way. Genius is a blend. I brought it in here. It's in our Kids Sense line. Kid, S-C-E. Oh, it's backwards. Kidscents. Young Living has an entire Kids Sense line that's safe to open it up and just use them. Well, they're all safe, but these don't require dilution. This one is amazing. You guys, I can't even begin to read you the long list of ingredients in this because the letters are too little. But I think this has 15 or 20 oils in it. I looked at it earlier today, and I didn't type it over because the list is so long. I didn't want to spend time on that. Dr. Edie, so in our upline, one of our team leaders is a doctor. They just adopted a 6-year-old, and he's having some attention issues, and they're retraining a whole lot of things in his life because he came out of a challenging situation. They're using Genius a lot. You can use this on the bottom of your feet, or you can use it on your big toe. I'll explain that in a little while. You could use it on the back of your neck or in the diffuser. This is not a starter kit oil. This contains kind of all the brain power oils. It's so good. This list is amazing in that one. Okay, alerting or clarity. So peppermint, that's a starter kit oil. Citrus is a citrus fresh. That's a blend of a bunch of citrus oils. That's a starter kit oil. And orange, a lot of people enjoy orange, very much like citrus fresh, obviously. So they did a study with citrus fresh, and they studied kids who used citrus. They used citrus fresh in the diffuser. I'm trying to get a little more light because my sun's going down outside. They used citrus fresh in a diffuser when kids were studying certain topics, and then they tested them on those topics later, and they found that when the kids were learning things with citrus fresh going in their diffuser, their recall of that topic was higher. Their recall rate was higher. So that's kind of a neat study. Citrus Fresh is a starter kit oil. It's also great to make your air smell good, and it's a mood boosting. You know, that citrus smell is just real. That's why a whole bunch of our cleaners are citrus smell. First of all, the citrus oils are cleaning and cleansing. They purify the air, but I think everybody loves those too. Most people really like peppermint also. So those are really good alerting oils. We have a blend called Clarity, but that's not a starter kit oil. Other mood boosting oils, because we've just got crankiness sometimes, maybe frustration, maybe sad, down, irritable, anxious. Peppermint, Stress Away. Stress Away is a starter kit oil. I don't have one here. Stress Away smells a little bit like vanilla, so it's kind of a delicious smelling oil. A lot of people really like it. So Stress Away does what you think it does. Stress Away, right? Peace and Calming, that's what I have in here. That is a starter kit oil. What you think, peace and calm. Citrus Fresh. So have you noticed I've listed citrus, I think 3 times in a row now. What that means is they have more job than one, and that's the benefit of them. Anxiety, we had Candace posted earlier today. She shared her story of her walk out of anxiety and depression, and you should watch her story. It's really encouraging. That was her story as a mom, as a woman, but the application of it will be just the same for kids. And then she posted 5 oils she uses for anxiety. So look for that post earlier. Frankincense, Peace and Calming, Citrus Fresh. All three of those are in the starter kit. And again, CBD. A lot of people have used CBD for calming, for alerting, for anxiety. So also this CBD that I was telling you guys about, it has the Young Living Seed to Seal guarantee. It is not labeled officially for ingestion because they're in the middle of still walking through that process, but the pet one is labeled for ingestion. So it's basically that they're just walking through the official labeling process. Some people say you could topically apply it under the tongue. But when you get your bottle, you can do whatever you want with it. So anyway, it's clean, it's pure, it's healthy, it's good for you. It is safe for your children. Ningxia Red, this is another one because we're supporting our brain. So it's good for us. It's high energy because it's giving you what you need, but it's making your body do what you want. So this isn't going to have a hyper reaction. It's going to have a good focus, that sort of energy, moving in the right direction, not bouncing off the walls energy. Okay, how to use the oils. I've talked about all these oils. What do we do with them? Well, there are different ways. The diffuser, this is not the diffuser that comes in the starter kit. I keep that out in the other room. This one only runs for a few hours. This is an older one. So I keep it in here in my office because it's perfect, because it runs for the few hours that I'm in here and then it turns itself off. You will get a diffuser. I was checking to see if I had one in here. You'll get a diffuser with your starter kit and it runs for 8 to 10 hours. It has a whole bunch of pretty light settings, has a candle setting. You use 3 or 4, between 3 and 5 drops, depending on how big the room is. And that is, they're smelling that. That's, as they smell it, that goes into their lung. First of all, it goes to their limbic system. Second of all, they're breathing it in and it's getting absorbed into their bloodstream through their lungs, which is good. We wonder, is that bad for you? But it's not. It's not like if they were inhaling something that you don't, like vaping. It's not the same thing. Somebody said that. How is inhaling oils good when vaping is bad? Well, look at the ingredient list on vaping. So it's very, very good. Diffusers are also good because they go for a long time. The other thing with the diffuser is sometimes when my kids are cranky, or actually my one in particular, she feels like I'm trying to fix her, probably because the way I have presented it. You don't want them to think that way because then they're going to be frustrated with you. So sometimes with the diffuser, you can just... okay, so don't lie to them. Just shape it in a way that you're benefiting the whole family at one time, right? We can benefit the family. We can make the house smell good. We can make the air smell good. We can clean the air with our diffuser, but sometimes if kids think we're trying to fix them with oils, they are going to buck about that. So the diffuser can be great for that because they don't really have to accept it. You're the mom, you're the dad, turn on your diffuser. You don't have to have their permission. Okay, the bottoms of the feet or the big toe. Now, this gets a little bit sciencey, but I'm going to use my hand because it's what I got. I'm not a contortionist, and you don't want to see me try and get my foot up by my face. So our hands and our feet, actually in here, they have a whole bunch of VitaFlex points. Now, picture acupuncture. It's the same concept, okay? All of these little places in our hand and our fingertips and our thumb, and actually our ears also, they're connected to organs in our body. Have you ever had somebody rub your shoulder and you can feel it right here on the top of your middle finger? That's because our whole body is connected. Chiropractic adjustment, if your spine is out of whack, that moves those nerves. It makes those nerves not be able to send the signals correctly. It's because those nerves are connected to organs in your body, okay? So this is the same thing. So the reason we put oils on you can put them on the palms of your hands. Typically we don't because it's easier to rub in your eyes that way. But you can do them on the bottoms of your feet. So we're going to pretend this is a foot. Put the oil, if you go from your big toe up to the heel, that's going to actually be touching every system in your whole body. The oil right on the tip of your big toe, so I only have 4 toes here, but technically your big toe is connected to your brain. So if you want oils to help your whole body, rub them all over your feet. The other thing is that kids don't tend to be real offended by putting things on their feet because the smell goes in their shoes. So if you're sending your kid to school, putting oils on the bottom of their feet or in their shoes, if they're barefoot in their shoes, but on the bottom of their feet if you're putting socks on, that can be a great way to get those oils on their body without them being frustrated about it. You can rub the oils on the back of their neck. Ultimately, you can rub them anywhere. They're going to absorb into your bloodstream through your skin. So use them. That's the bottom line. You could do, some kids, they'll get a roller bottle. You can wrap it with some soft clay. You could stick a Nerf. We talked one day about cutting a Nerf dart to put it around a glass. Like if they took a glass roller bottle like this, well, it might break if they were to drop it. So you could take a Nerf dart and wrap it around here like a piece of insulation to pad it. Honestly, now there are a whole bunch of creative ways for taking oils portably. Okay, so I think that's it. I feel like I just kind of spit a whole bunch of information at you, but I was trying really hard to not get distracted. Alyssa, that's a great point. Caffeine makes me jittery, but Ningxia just gives me good energy. That's great. I don't think I've ever noticed it keeping me, I guess I probably don't really take it at bedtime, but do you guys have any questions? You know, there's a little bit of a delay in comments. So if you have questions, type them now, and then I'll talk here for another minute or two and then see if any come up. So I think the most important takeaway is it's multifaceted. It's different for everybody, but we want to help you figure it out. So we're with you. We don't want you to just buy something and then head off. The other thing I think that's really important is the reason that it matters so much that we're talking about Young Living oils is that we know everything about them. We know the dirt that's in the field. We know the people who are working on them. You can stop by the farms, Young Living, anytime you want to. We know that the vats where they do all the work are not cleaned with chemicals. So we know that they are 100% pure, clean essential oils. And that's why it really matters which brand you use. You want to be able to know about what you're using to help you. Dilution rates for placing oil on feet. Kim, that's actually really different for every single oil. Some of them you don't have to dilute at all. It also depends on how long you've been using oils. And so that's really a hard one. I will say that in our groups, when you join, you buy a starter kit, you get your wholesale membership, and then in our groups, one of the things that we do is we'll teach you all of that stuff, but that answer is different for every single oil. I dilute almost nothing these days, except like that Imu Power I talked about. This one is a really hot oil, so if I were to use this actually I probably wouldn't even use this one on an infant, but if I were to, I would use one drop in a whole roller bottle this size. But on myself, I do half and half. And if I'm in a pinch, I open the bottle on my shelf and I do it straight. So it's really different for every single person in every family in every situation. The other thing is that these oils are very, very powerful. And when we start to use oils, it can clean out our bodies because that's what they do. I said in our video the other day, they clean out our cell receptors. And that can look different for everybody because when we're cleaning out our cells, our body has to get rid of that junk. And that can come out as a skin rash. So we want to walk with you through that process. Marianne, the most important takeaways for getting started are hang with us so we can help you. I think that's really important. You're not alone. We don't want you to walk this journey alone. I think it's really important to make sure you're getting good quality stuff. And I would pick something to adjust one at a time. I would start by removing stuff and maybe remove one thing and add one thing at the same time. They always say you can't out-supplement a bad diet. If you're eating and you're dumping a whole bunch of junk and nastiness in your body, you're going to have a hard time finding help from one drop of oil. So if you try oils and they don't work, chances are very good it's because there's still something junky really going in. So I think that the biggest thing is don't walk alone. Let us walk with you. And do it. It's okay to do it slowly. It doesn't have to be all or nothing overnight. And that we'll be here for the long term. We want to walk with you. So I think that's good. Those are good questions that you guys had. Thanks for being here. I wasn't as fast as I wanted to be. I'm a teacher at heart, you guys, and it's hard for me to just not say all the whys about things. So I'm super excited that you guys were here. You guys are nice and devoted for a Friday night to hang out with me on Facebook. So thank you. Yeah, that's a good idea, Marianne. Start small. It doesn't have to be, we're not talking about $1,000 investment overnight because almost nobody can do that. So thank you guys for joining me. You can continue post questions on the bottom of this, post questions on other posts in the group. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central, I will talk about the starter kit and how you can apply it to your daily life, because one of the things that, that we talked about in here is getting rid of some of those things, our stinky stuff, our cleaners, our cold medicines, stuff like that. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is the starter kit as a toolkit to replace a lot of the junk that we're putting in our bodies so we can make our home a happy, healthy home. So thanks for joining me, you guys.